having that attitude where you want to understand versus rebuttal. How many times am I listening only to be able to get ready to fire back?
Being able to hear what is not being said. Sometimes you
Wow.
have to listen between the lines.
Yeah. Hello, hello, hello. It's another Wednesday, Words of Wisdom. And today we want to talk about the cornerstone of every relationship and every marriage. And guess what that is? Communication.
Communication.
So we're talking today about the two aspects that really make the most difference, and that's active listening and assertive speaking. And when we are able to really capitalize on these and learn the art of listening and the art of assertive speaking, man, we can really begin to resolve things in our relationship and come to some decisions and all those kind of things. So it really takes capitalizing on that.
And I think that when we digest the first part of effective communication, it really comes down to being able to hear what is not being said. Sometimes you have to listen between the lines. When I'm talking to Renita, and sometimes she's using the right words, but there might be things that I've got to kind of drag out, if you will, draw out. Let me type, not drag, but draw out. You have to ask questions. And part of that is being willing to not make assumptions about what you think your spouse is saying, but I have to ask Renita, okay, what do you really mean by that? Or can you explain a little bit more about that? I think that makes a big difference.
I think also hearing the unsaid is really keying in on the other aspects of a person when they're speaking, which is their tone and their body language. Because I could be saying certain words, but my body language is demonstrating something else. Here's another part of active listening, having that attitude where you want to understand versus rebuttal. How many times am I listening only to be able to get ready to fire back? So understanding says, no, I'm reading in between the lines, I'm listening intently, and because I know I'm going to have an opportunity to share my perspective, but at this particular time, I'm practicing the art of listening.
Absolutely.
So understanding is my focus rather than rebuttal.
The other, I think, is important, and it goes along with what I said before about not just hearing what is unsaid, but also being willing to be vulnerable when we speak. And that requires that we create a safe place for communication where I know for myself, if I'm dealing with an insecurity, I know at one time in our marriage, about 2.5 years ago, I was really taking on a new position at work, and it was really a stressful time. Several people who were close to us had either passed away or even taken their own life due to the stress. And I felt very vulnerable because I saw that was affecting me in terms of the stress at work. And it just had an effect on me. I wasn't eating well, wasn't sleeping well. And so it was a very a vulnerable time. And so I had to be willing to speak up. And I could only do that because I knew that it was safe to do so. So experiencing emotional safety, creating that for one another, creating that safe space for one another really does help with effective speaking and communication.
I think the other thing about assertive speaking is, again, focusing on in vulnerability, being able to say what you feel, what you're thinking, versus venting about what the other person did or didn't do. And so when I start using the I statements versus the you statements, that changes the tone of the conversation. That because when I point the finger at you, generally you're going to want to defend that, especially if you think I'm wrong, or if I'm not telling the story, or my viewpoint is off base. So again, I take ownership for my feelings. I assert myself by sharing how I feel versus venting because you did or didn't do something to meet my expectation.
Absolutely. So those are just some tips from
Going
the
uphill.
quicks. Yeah,
Going
get a little
uphill.
out
Getting a
of
little
breath. But just some tips on how to just practice that art of listening and
yeah.
communicating with one another.
Yeah. So we'll see you next time.
All right. Blessings to you.